In the midst of World II, there emerged an American invention so effective, so pivotal, that it nullified our enemy's weaponry, guarded our skies from their attacks, and changed the way aircrafts were used in warfare forever. From this innovative fuse stemmed the ubiquitous Doppler Radar, the likes of which we still use today. Without this technology, it would have been significantly more challenging to intercept and destroy enemy aircrafts and missiles, leading to prolonged bloodshed and a higher number of casualties. Still forming the core of air defense technology today, I present to you the tiny fuse that turned the tide of World War II, the guardian of the skies, the Proximity Fuze. When a nation's survival is on the line, innovation often rises up from the flames. Many new technologies were conceived during times of war, and the Proximity Fuze is no different. So, to understand it, we have to start at the beginning of World War II. From the fall of France to Nazi Germany in the summer of 1940, the United States realized that an all-out world war was inevitable. As the United States began preparing its military forces for war, they found that many of their weaponries and technologies were no match against a newly developed combat airplane, which were capable of bombing specific targets over land and attacking ships at sea. To counter this terrifying new invention, the US military decided to install newer anti-aircraft artillery guns on all naval ships. More importantly, we also committed to improving the ammunition those guns fired. Anti-aircraft artillery guns were weapons designed to damage enemy aircrafts from the ground. These guns fired shells or large bullets filled with explosives, which were then detonated by an attached fuse. At that time, two main types of fuses were used: timed fuses and contact fuses. However, both were ineffective at destroying targets, as the timed fuse required precise timing by the ground gunners before firing the shell from an artillery gun. Even a slight error in the settings could cause the shell to miss the target aircraft wildly. The other type of fuse was a contact fuse. These fuses needed to make direct contact with a target to detonate, presenting a different issue. Unlike the timed fuse, where the shell could potentially damage the aircraft if it exploded in close proximity, the contact fuse had a smaller margin for error since direct contact with the target was necessary for an explosion. Given the speed and agility of aircrafts at the time, the contact fuse was essentially useless. All of these defects resulted in the overall inaccuracy of Allied artillery, with an astonishing average of 15,000 shells required to hit just one aircraft, even with an exceptionally skilled gunner. This wasted precious wartime ammunition, and thus, the United States was in desperate need for a better fuse that could detonate automatically when close to a target. However, this task was far from easy. This difficult project was assigned to the National Defense Research Committee and later the Applied Physics Laboratory. It was at these institutions where the inner workings of the fuse were finalized, and it is here where the fuses were ready for production in the summer of 1942, after just 28 months in development. The final model of the fuse used radio waves to determine its proximity to the target. After being shot, the fuses sent out radio waves, which, when they encounter an object, bounced back to the fuse. The fuse then calculates how far away the target is, and when the fuse determines that the target is close enough, the fuse will trigger the explosives inside the shell. To make this all work, the insides of the proximity fuse turned out to be extremely complex. Below is a recreation of what the fuse would have looked like. This is a battery which provides power to the fuse. At the nodes, we have a transmitter and receiver of the radio waves. Directly below it, we have the fragile vacuum tube module. It does calculations to determine the distance by the reflected wave. At the bottom portion contains numerous safety mechanisms and the modules that will trigger the explosives in the shell if the vacuum tubes determine that the enemy aircraft is close enough. According to naval records, The first kill achieved using the proximity fuse in battle was aboard the USS Helena in January of 1943. The captain of the vessel recounted, "An admiral was on board at the time, and he was getting some rest, when 4 Japanese bombers attacked and we opened fire with our anti-aircraft gun. He dashed out on the deck and they told him that they had shot down a Japanese plane. He didn't believe them, of course, so as they come back through the area, they picked up one of the planes floating in the water. The plane was decimated with fragments." This key turning point forever changed the dynamics in the Pacific theater, as the United States Navy could now afford to go on the offensive, equipped with the most efficient and most effective weapon ever produced in modern history. Over the course of 1943, although only 25% of all naval anti-aircraft artillery were proximity fuse, these accounted for an incredible 51% of the aircraft downed. Secretary of the Navy James Foster put it this way: "The proximity fuse has helped blaze a trail to Japan. Without the protection this ingenious device has given the surface ships of the fleet, our vessel push could not have been so swift, and the cost in men and ships would have been immeasurably greater." Back on land, the war rages on, particularly in England, where the proximity fuse proved to be of significant use to the British Royal Air Force, where they were used to counter Nazi Germany's V-1 missiles. During the period of June 1944 to March 1945, 6,700 V-1 missiles were successfully launched. Of these, 79% of all targets were destroyed by anti-aircraft guns equipped with proximity fuses, exploding harmlessly in the air. This was a decisive victory against the Axis powers. Their technologically advanced weaponry was rendered useless by the proximity fuse. The fuse protected countless ordinary civilians, thousands of properties, numerous businesses, and the crucial war supply chains. The proximity fuse saved the city of London. After World War II ended in September of 1945, the fuses continued to be improved and developed. In modern warfare, the proximity fuse serves a different yet equally important purpose. The renowned Patriot missile system of the United States Army still uses the PAC-2 missile tipped with a proximity fuse, showing how using radio waves to detect targets is still an effective way of detonating missiles and shells even in wars today, most notably in the Gulf War and the more recent Russo-Ukrainian conflict, where the United States Army supplied Ukraine with multiple Patriot missile systems, currently protecting Ukraine from the formidable Russian jets. The modern impact of the proximity fuse extends far beyond the realms of warfare, as it has greatly contributed to the development of the Doppler Radar, now prevalent in many fields such as aviation, navigation, and meteorology. This new type of radar enabled the measurement of speed in addition to distance, a feat not possible with traditional radar. This marked a decisive shift in radar technology and paved the way for a wide range of potential applications. In meteorology, Doppler radars are used to measure the speed and distance of clouds and precipitation. The United States National Weather Service operates 160 high-resolution Doppler weather radars. It is likely that you have seen a weather radar map, as these are frequently used to predict severe weather conditions such as large thunderstorms, tornadoes, cyclones, and hurricanes. Without this advanced warning system, thousands of lives could be lost in Central America where tornadoes rule, as well as along the coast where hurricanes and cyclones wage war with the states. Overall, the proximity fuse proved to be an incredible protective measure and a potent weapon against their enemies during World War II. If not for the swift yet effective development of the fuse during the chaos of the 1940s, the war would have undoubtedly lasted longer and the death toll infinitely larger. Even after World War II, the ability to intercept targets accurately changed the way airplanes were used in warfare. It is also from this legendary fuse that sprung the miraculous technology of the Doppler Radar, continuing the proximity fuse's mission of saving military and civilian lives. To this day, the legacy of the proximity fuse endures in many forms and across many fields. reminding us how a tiny, innovative invention can turn the tides forever.